and hold space. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vigna Karadura Hamari.
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang being a Sanskrit word that literally means community of truth. Practically speaking, it's a spiritual community wherever two or more people on the spiritual path come together to share their journeys, their presence, their problems and their victories. We have a satsang, and we strengthen one another exponentially when we come together and join our presence like this. So thank you for coming. The Flowering Heart Satsang is informal. We have no membership per se. We come from different spiritual teachers, different spiritual teachings, religious backgrounds or the lack thereof. We come from all over the world, different cultures. What we have in common is the journey of awakening and the flowering of the heart in oneness with the divine and with all that is. And so we're glad you're here tonight. We're living at a time when it's so important for humanity to awaken and shift collectively from the almost pervasive delusion that we exist as separate individuals with a beginning and an end separate from one another, in a state of duality. Truth is, we're all one. We share one universal consciousness, one universal heart of love, and it's expressing itself through all 8 billion quirky humans on this planet. We need to shift from the civilization we've created out of that delusion of separation and duality, a civilization rooted in competition, conflict, and war. We need to give birth to a new global civilization rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. That happens only one way, when the heart flowers, not just us individually, but when the collective consciousness of humanity as a whole begins to shift into oneness. That's what we're working toward. And to that end, we share a gift from the divine we call the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a direct transmission of divine grace and light and love, awakened consciousness that in the receiver catalyzes the process of awakening and transformation of consciousness. And guess what? You're soaking in it right now. It's absolutely free. The divine told us to give it away, and that if anyone was interested in sharing this blessing that catalyzes awakening and the flowering of the heart, all they need to do is receive one blessing, Flowering Heart Blessing, and you're fully initiated and activated. And guess what? You're receiving it right now. So please join us in sending the Flowering Heart Blessing to all those who join us tonight and all who will be viewing this recording at any time in the future. How do I do that? You just invite the divine to pour the Flowering Heart Blessing through you, and hold with an intention the one or the ones that you wish to receive that blessing. The divine just does all the rest. You don't need to visualize anything or pray for anything in particular. Just offer yourself as an instrument to the divine, and the divine will do all the rest. We have a 36-minute video on our website at floweringheart.org, that explains a little more about the Flowering Heart Blessing, and there's a guided meditation to take you through an initiation process that's just minutes long. You're welcome to use that to start a blessing group in your own community, in your own neighborhood. Hopefully all of you have a spiritual community that you relate to. You may relate to a small group of people who are awakening like you are than people from your temple or your church or the religion you grew up with. In fact, almost certainly, you would identify with people that are on this same journey of transformation. And sharing the blessing is a great way to accelerate the journey and to melt away blocks and impediments to that process. So just get one or two people, pull up our website and hit play on that video. 36 minutes later, you'll have a group of people who are ready to share the blessing. And we hope that you do that. You're welcome to download the video, use it any way you want. Announcements. None really. Please give us a love or a like. We see a bunch of loves right now. I like loves the best, but thumbs up are good, and there are kissy faces and different emojis that you could pick. But if you're watching on Facebook Live, please give us a like or a love. We go in after these webcasts and see the names of the people who have visited, and we send you special hugs and blessings. If you're on Vimeo watching, please just leave a comment in the chat and tell us who you are, not your stage name, so we can send the blessing to someone real rather than to Namaste Clown or whatever. Probably most of you know that we are looking at a hurricane that seems to be heading straight toward us. We're in Clearwater, which is right in the center of the Tampa Bay area, right in the center of Pinellas County, which they're projecting is the most likely landfall early Thursday morning of what is now a Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of 180 miles an hour. It should strengthen a little more to about 185, which is close to right up there with some of the most powerful hurricanes on record. But fortunately, as it approaches land and it gets some wind shear, it should slow down. So they're thinking it'll only be going 125 miles an hour, Category 3, when it hits Clearwater Beach or wherever it comes up. This would be the most powerful storm in at least 100 years, and a lot of meteorologists are thinking that it is the most powerful storm in more like 170 years in the Tampa Bay area. We've been protected by an ancient Native American prophecy about this area that is protected from hurricanes. We've never seen anything like this. I've lived here 62 years of my 70 years, and I've been through many, many hurricanes, but I haven't seen anything like this. Usually they come as storms from the African coast, across the Atlantic, through the Caribbean, and up into the Gulf. This one came from the Pacific Ocean. Instead of going from east to west, it came from west to east across Mexico, landed in the Gulf of Mexico, and then over, I'm pretty sure, less than a 48-hour period, it went from 40-mile-an-hour storm to over 180 miles an hour, Category 5. It's just, we haven't seen anything like it. And to add to that, just a little over a week ago, we had Hurricane Helene, which created tremendous storm surge, and most of our friends who live on the beaches, the barrier islands, lost everything in their homes because the water came up 4 feet or more in their homes. The storm surge was 7 or 8 feet. They're predicting that this one will be perhaps 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. So, and it's a week after. I mean, people have not been able to clean up from Helene. The streets are filled with refrigerators and washing machines and dressers and tables and furniture, beds.
Whole living rooms, whole houses, just...
Basically anything that got wet had to be thrown away because the storm surge pushes up sewer water with it, up out of the sewers. So people's homes were flooded with a mix of seawater and sewage. It's just unbelievable. Suzanne's been working for days helping people on the beach gut their homes. I started on Sunday with Suzanne, and I got so sick. I think I got poisoned, and I won't go into details, but I did survive it. But oh my gosh, it's unbelievable that another and more powerful storm with more storm surge is hitting the same area in a week.
Yeah.
It's just wow. So
people here still haven't recuperated from Helene.
They're still in shock.
Yeah.
They're not going to recuperate anytime soon because it will take a long time to rebuild all these homes that were, I mean, they not only did all the possessions have to be thrown away, all the walls had to be torn out and stripped down to the bare wood and rebuilt because the sewage got into the walls and into the floors, and it's just...
Yeah, there was mold all over the walls and furniture and...
So it's sort of like we're in the apocalypse here, except here at Flowering Heart Center, we're great. There was no flooding, no storm surge. We're 73 feet above sea level. The Lord has given his angels charge over us, and no evil will befall us, and no plague or calamity will come nigh our dwelling. I believe that, and I stand on it, but we're having to, board up windows and doors and take precautions because wind is the big one on this storm, and wind 125 miles an hour can take a small thing at ground level and make it a projectile going 100 miles an hour. So thank you for your prayers. Thank you, Stacy, so much. And More says, we're all out of words, so sorry, and you don't need to say a thing. I know. I feel you, and you feel us. Stacy also writes, happy birthday, Suzanne.
Oh, thank you. Happy birthday to you, too.
we share a birthday.
Yeah.
May I ask for a blessing for tomorrow for Bill and I? At the wisdom-infused age of 60, I'm getting married for the first and, God willing, only time.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you again. Continued prayers for your safety and well-being. Aw, thank you, Stacy. That's so sweet.
We were
Yeah.
supposed to get together with our kids tomorrow to celebrate, but that's been thwarted.
So it was just a few years ago, we had a birthday family trip planned to Mexico Beach in the panhandle of Florida for Suzanne's birthday,
My 50th. So.
her 50th. And along came Hurricane, get this, Michael. And Hurricane Michael drew a bullseye on Mexico Beach and came ashore right there and wiped it out. I mean, it was horrendous. We were able to get a last-minute reservation for a house for the whole family down in Fort Myers Beach, which was wonderful.
It was fun.
And since that time, Fort Myers Beach has largely been wiped out by
Right.
hurricanes. So, yeah, we're going through an interesting time here in Florida. And there's so much heat in the Gulf of Mexico. These hurricanes spin counterclockwise, which is rising air and rising temperature. And it's feeding on the heat in the Gulf. And so it's getting stronger. These storms are getting so strong. It's hard to argue to us who live here that the climate is not shifted. We've never had water temperature this warm in the Gulf or storms that accelerate this fast. So thank you for your prayers and also for taking seriously the role that you and I can play in protecting the environment and not contributing to climate issues. I was reading that one of the major sources of greenhouse gases is air conditioning
Really?
as things are getting hotter.
Oh.
And that actually air conditioning contributes more to greenhouse gases than airplanes, airliners, and all of that stuff that's going on all the time. So they're working on some new technologies that should really reduce that, but just like not letting the water run, you know, not flushing more often than we really need to, not wasting resources, recycling. All of that is so important. And
Yeah, something else we saw, everybody's got cleaning products underneath their sinks and, bathroom sinks, kitchen sinks, garages. And we were helping one friend move and everything got soaked. I mean, everything was soaked. We were just dumping gross water out of all these containers and things were floating. Big chest of drawers were floating in the water and got knocked over. But the chemicals, that's why we think Michael might have gotten a little bit of poisoning because there was like some pesticides and stuff like that in the garage. And if the caps weren't on tight, or like say Ajax or Comet, it's cardboard basically. And when it gets wet, it just disintegrates. And then you've got these chemicals. I saw somebody else with some lye for toilet bowl cleaner, and its container just totally disintegrated, and it was all over the shelf. And that stuff is caustic; it burns pretty easily. So yeah, I'm starting to really look at, we've got.
and there we were barefoot.
Yeah, well, sandals. Yeah.
They're wearing thongs. We're Florida
Flip-flops.
people. Yeah, we don't like shoes.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be adjusting the way that I see those kinds of things, because now all that just got washed away and into the ocean, and how's that going to affect the critters, the sea creatures?
Anyway, we're doing fine at the moment. Got over that poisoning, which was nasty, and here we are. But Thursday morning, early in the morning, late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning is going to be a very critical time here in Clearwater and all of the Tampa Bay area. So, and the Gulf Coast, really, this is going to be far-reaching, but we're kind of like the target is drawn, right? So we do appreciate your prayers. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll come back to the request for prayer and the other stuff. We like to open it to questions and answers on the spiritual journey. And I have a couple things I'd like to share with you tonight. One is a letter an email that I received from Matt Kahn. It wasn't personal, I'm on his email list. And every once in a while I share them. Matt Kahn's a spiritual teacher who sometimes is just remarkable and right on. And I thought this was. So here's the letter he sent out this morning. Hello, beloved friend. Due to the intensity, well, first of all, the title of this letter is, Was this week intense or what? Dear beloved friend, due to the intensity of global events and a conflux of astrological energies, we offer this week's newsletter as a lifeline of emotional support. While it can become instinctive to interpret disruptions in sleep, feeling ungrounded, emotional sensitivities, and even spontaneous misunderstandings with others as evidence of more traumas to dig up, work on, and process, it's important to remember there are many influences at play. Suffice it to say, our time on Earth this week has been incredibly intense, equally from the conflicts between countries, the instability from surreal hurricane activity, the new moon energies, as well as the effects of amplified solar flare activity. As you move through this corridor of transmutation, may you remember that not everything you think, feel, and experience is a trauma to resolve, a pattern to clear, or an aspect of shadow to release. May you allow this immeasurably surreal time in history to be a gateway into a more expansive view of your journey, with less time spent blaming yourself for the experiences underway. As always, may you embrace any opportunity that surfaces to love yourself more, not less, every step of the way. Not because it promises to give you what you want at a faster rate, or impresses the universe with how spiritual anyone can be. Instead, self-love becomes an emotional necessity, much like taking time to breathe, as you course correct any history of neglect, mistreatment, rejection, or abandonment by being the one that holds your heart the way it has always wanted to be held. From our hearts to yours, thank you for being part of our growing community of brightness, a shining example of how exquisitely the divine I Am radiates unique frequencies of truth for the benefit of all, just by being exactly as you are. Live brightly, Matt and his partner Joy. Beautiful.
Yeah.
They mentioned a solar flare, and this week begins with the arrival of a large X-class solar flare that will instigate an emotional release, bringing lingering insecurities to the surface for many people. As the week continues, the astro-numerological influences will be centered around trust, faith, and truth. You may benefit from some time spent in nature or in silence to give space for reflection and integration of what you may be mentally, emotionally, and physically processing around these topics. By taking this time for yourself, it will help you leverage the energy coming in, activating more self-trust, integrity, and fulfillment. If you notice any feelings of withdrawal or isolation, reach out and let someone know you could use some extra love and support. If you don't know who to reach out to, place your hand on your heart and welcome the love and support of the divine as it pours down from the heavens. You are never alone, and this week will help you see like never before. But I love that part that we tend to think that everything is some trauma to be resolved, some charge to be released, some shadow material to release and work on. And he's saying, what's happening this week isn't that. it's many things going on, from the surreal hurricane activity to conflicts between nations and many tensions that are in the outer world. So I thought that could be helpful.
I was at Home Depot today getting some stuff, and I went through the parking lot. It was just a zoo there. There was a super big line for plywood and lines everywhere for gasoline, and it was just a lot of tense energy out there. And there were about 5 or 6 teenage boys riding their bikes through the parking lot, and they were popping wheelies and going side to side and in and out of cars. And they stopped closer to the front door, and I opened my window and I said, you know, guys, people are really stressed right now, and they don't need to be worrying about if you wreck your bike and they run you over or you're cutting them off. It's just adding to the stress. And one of the kids said, hey lady, it's the Gulf of Mexico's fault, not mine. And I said, yeah, but sometimes we can, be part of the solution, not part of the problem, and help out where we can. And you guys riding this way is causing more stress in an already very stressful environment. And then I just rolled up my window and moved along, but planting little seeds. So, yeah.
So I have some quotes to share.
Do we have time? Are there any questions?
Yeah, but we got time. I said I was going to share 2 things.
Oh, okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, it's just getting late.
Fine, we won't talk that much later. This is 12 quotes about big changes later in life. And the author of this little article and list of quotes is Bennett Kleinman, a staff writer at Optimism, as well as a freelance comedy writer based in New York City. So thank you for this. Bidding farewell to the familiar and embracing change is always difficult to some degree, especially later in life, once we've settled further into our habits and routines. But our golden years often leave us no choice but to adapt, even if we'd rather stay the course. Maybe we have to come to terms with retiring after 50 years, or cope with losing a loved one we've known since childhood. Either way, when such events happen, the best thing we can do is face them head on. Knowing that change is inevitable, we're left with 2 choices. If we choose the latter, we may find ourselves surprised at just how much that mindset can enrich our lives. After all, age is just another number, and whether we're 8 or 80, we can always learn new skills. And of course, change doesn't necessarily have to be the result of a traumatic event. It can also mean picking up that hobby we've always thought about trying, or selling our home and living in an RV like we've always dreamed about. It boils down to being willing to take that first step and walk forward into the unknown with an optimistic outlook. Here are 12 quotes about making big changes later in life that may inspire you to forget about your age and seize those unfamiliar opportunities, no matter how imposing they may seem. Here we go. As soon as you feel too old to do a thing, do it. Margaret Deland. You can't go back and make a new start, but you can start right now and make a brand new ending. James R. Sherman. It's never too late or too soon. It is when it's supposed to be. Mitch Albom. Aging is not lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength. Betty Friedman. You're only as young as the last time you changed your mind. Timothy Leary. You can, you should, and if you're brave enough to start, you will. Stephen King. Never cease to stand like curious children before the great mystery into which we were born. Albert Einstein. It's never too late to start, It's always too late to wait. Jeff Olson. Iron rusts from disuse. Stagnant water loses its purity and in cold weather becomes frozen. Even so does inaction sap the vigor of the mind. Leonardo da Vinci. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. Martin Luther King Jr. You're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. Les Brown. There's no such thing as aging, but maturing and knowledge. It's beautiful. Celine Dion. Yeah, that didn't take too long.
Who was that by?
Celine Dion.
No, the author.
Of the whole article?
Uh-huh.
Well, it was Bennett Kleinman. Okay, so back to our questions. So Tristan says, keep praying for me as I process recovery from addictions. Will do. Morey says, we will, Tristan. Ernesto says, happy new one, Suzanne. Namaste.
Thanks.
And Tristan asks, do you believe Jesus was in India? I ask Canadian Christians that question. They get uncomfortable with things they might not know. I believe they're powerful, untold stories. Well, I believe Jesus is everywhere, including India, Canada, everywhere. Was he in India during his human life? I have many friends who believe that. I do not. But you're free to believe whatever you like. It doesn't mention that anywhere in the writings of his direct disciples. The one who spent time in India was Doubting Thomas. St. Thomas worked all kinds of miracles and lived in Chennai, where we used to go all the time to the Oneness University. For 20 years, lived in a cave. Worked tremendous miracles and healings. That is a fact. People have different teachings. The Self-Realization Fellowship teaches that during Jesus' when he was a young man, like when he was a kid, that he went to India and he was taught by the gurus of the Self-Realization Fellowship, and he learned Kriya Yoga from them, and that's how he was able to work miracles. I don't think that's why he was able to work miracles. According to the writings of the Ethiopian Coptics, where Jesus spent the first 12 years of his life hiding in Egypt before Joseph and Mary and he could go back to Israel. This is a fact. He worked miracles among the Ethiopians. The miracles that he worked in his youth are written of, I believe, in the Quran. So I don't know why anyone needs to concoct a tale that he had to go to India to be taught about God realization and working of miracles, because he came into the world knowing who he was and knowing his relationship to his Heavenly Father, and with miracles flowing through him. Then there are others who believe that his disciples concocted a myth about going to the cross and being crucified. That wasn't him. They sneaked him off, and he went to India, where he finished his life, and there's a grave somewhere in northern India marked with Jesus' name, and some of my Hindu friends believe that's his grave, and he spent his latter years in India, which completely basically would negate everything he had to say about why he incarnated, why he allowed them to crucify him, and what that was all about. And the great miracle of that, his resurrection from the dead, physically and spiritually. So no, I don't believe that. But there are people I love and respect who do believe all that India story, and maybe I'm wrong. But you know, I've been a scholar and a student of the literature for many, many decades, and I've read many, many things, both the scriptural texts and the ones that are considered to be apocryphal or not scriptural, and I've read all kinds of the writings of the early Christians, the ones from Jesus' time, and in the first several centuries, and there's no mention of India, other than Thomas going to India. And like I said, he made a great showing. I wish I had a lot of time to talk about St. Thomas, but we don't. Okay, so, but what I believe is kind of unimportant here? What's important is, how can you awaken more smoothly and more completely in your heart flower in oneness with the divine, with others, and with all that is? That's what really matters. These philosophical questions and historical questions, there's no end to them. And they used to tell us in India, this is a trick of the mind, to ask these fundamental questions constantly, one after another, largely generated in the throat chakra, but there's this endless string of questions that the mind poses to kind of keep us distracted, because it's really interesting. I mean, did Jesus go to India? And what are those stories? And they're kind of interesting. But, so, you want to add anything to that? Okay. More writes, I heard an explanation that as souls we are interconnected. We are all one with the divine, meaning our soul is a collective, a we. This is why many of the channelers speak as a collective. It seems we're moving toward multidimensional, nonlinear thinking. What do you think? I think in a nonlinear way about that. No, anyone that has experienced the higher levels of consciousness, which sometimes we call oneness or Christ consciousness, or certainly that blowout cosmic consciousness where everything disappears but you are the witness of the universe and experience the universe as your body. In those states of oneness, there is only one consciousness in the universe. And you and I, we're all sharing it. I don't so much believe in collective souls. I know that's another very popular thing that we know next to nothing about. Maybe so. That there are specific groups of souls that live and speak and reincarnate as collective groups. That I'm not sure of, but I do know that all of us are one consciousness. And that consciousness is God. And there's one love and one heart. We talk about the flowering of the heart. We're talking about the flowering of the heart of the universe, the heart of the divine, flowering and opening within you. And then, yes, we see that we are not an I and a you, we're a we. We are we. And I believe you're right on the mark, Moray, that we're moving toward multidimensional, nonlinear, well, thinking, you're right, but I think awareness. Multidimensional, nonlinear awareness, where we could gaze into each other's eyes and I'd see myself looking at me through your eyes, and you'd see yourself looking at you through my eyes. And it's like, am I you? Are you me? Are we? Who are we? It turns out we are one. And awakening, part of the process is for that veil that makes us feel separate to drop away, where we experience the truth that we are a collective being. In the beginning of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, it says gods, Elohim, which translates gods. The gods said, let us make humanity in our image, after our likeness. Male and female, they made them, and named them Adam, which was not the name of the man. Adam in Hebrew means human. Adam decided the woman needed to be called something else, and he named her woman, Eve. But the point is that the deity that's described as behind creation in Genesis chapter 1 is plural, Elohim, gods, which is not saying there are many gods like you might think is what that's pointing to. There's one God, but that one supreme being is a multiplicity. It's a community. So, which I think, oh, Paula Schrader. Sending you love and blessings, protection for all of our Floridians. Yes, please. And I've been keeping up on Asheville. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And I've been
sending
your
you prayers
Facebook
too.
page and so glad to hear that you guys are okay. And yeah, love to you and yours. And so glad that you fared well. Asheville did not do well with Helene.
Yeah.
And and then Morey adds, it seems that the boundaries of I and we are blurring as we ascend to greater consciousness. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it kind of depends on what level of consciousness we're on, how we perceive God and how God relates to us. What are called primitive people in typhonic consciousness, God relates to them very magically through nature, through trees and rocks and mountains. Nothing wrong with that. That's the level of consciousness they're on. At a more evolved state of consciousness, we're stuck in mythic membership, identifying with the group we belong to. And most of the world is stuck in mythic membership. I'm of this political party, I'm of this religion, I'm of that, that's my identity. God relates to that bunch as the monotheistic God, which people are kind of freaked out about because he's like the ruler. But for people that have evolved beyond that into intuitive levels of consciousness, the divine is experienced in very non-linear ways that are very inclusive and multiplicitous. That's all I had to say about it.
Yeah. And I've noticed probably over the last decade especially that like the veils of separation are starting to be cleared, and people are getting more intuitive. You know, that like so many times a day I'll think of somebody and they'll text me or call me, or you know, just little things like that, or I feel like the phone is about ready to ring and I'll go pick it up, and you know, maybe I should go here instead of there first. And then as I'm on my way there, I was like, oh, that's the reason why I felt led to do that. So it's the veils are definitely beginning to thin. And that's true with linear thinking too. A lot more people are spending more time in the present moment and just really being there and not thinking about the past, not thinking about the future, just really being in the present moment, which really kind of throws off the whole linear thinking kind of thing.
As we awaken and evolve in consciousness, it becomes less and less important to think at all.
Yeah.
There's direct perception and awareness.
I've never been very good at delegating things or coordinating things. This week I was helping elderly people, and they were just kind of lost. You know, their whole life is just flooded and ruined, and I had to come up with plans and systems and say, okay, we're going to do this. Does that sound good with everybody? Anybody have any other idea? And I was like, wow, I never had this muscle before. I've never been put in a position where I had to like actually delegate people to do different things, and it was an interesting side of myself I'd never seen before. I don't know why I brought that up, but it just popped in. It's never too late to grow and change.
All right, well, let's close our eyes and invoke the presence within our hearts. You see, because the presence isn't out there somewhere waiting to rain down on the top of your head or to flood you from all. I mean, it is everywhere and can do all of those things, but the entire Godhead dwells within you at the center of your being. As Rumi said, you're not a drop of the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. And this divine being who dwells within you loves you unconditionally, exactly as you are. This divine presence knows everything about you, everything you've ever done, everything you ever will do, every mistake you've ever made or will make, and still loves you totally and unconditionally, just as you are. It yearns to draw back the veil of separation and duality that we've been talking about tonight, and reveal to you your true self, which is one with the divine. This divine presence is all-powerful and all-knowing, all-wise. Just yield yourself to it, and it will draw you into the center of your being. There's a gravitational pull that when we let go of all of our outer fixations and thoughts and feelings and just open to the presence of God, this gravitational pull sucks us into the center just like the sun at the center of the universe. This gravitational pull I'm talking about is called love. Divine love is what draws us together with each other and into oneness with the divine. We don't need to plead for it, beg for it. It is the will of the divine to draw you into unity. Just consent, allow, and release yourself to the divine. Presence yearns to flood your spirit with light and shine out through your spiritual heart into the layers of your being that are mental and emotional and programmed, to dissolve all that wrong thinking, all those traumas, and bottled up feelings and destructive programming. The divine will shine out from the center of your being and clear your soul realm of thoughts and feelings and programs and replace all of it with divinely inspired ideas and feelings and plans. It'll shine out into your physical body to dissolve dis-ease, blockages in the life force, pain and sickness, make you whole and strong, full of divine life and health. It wants to shine out even farther into your relationships, to heal them and make them right, and shine out through your life into the world to catalyze countless others, as the light that's shining out of your inmost being ripples out to infinity, touching the entire universe. Just allow it. Drink in the grace. Imagine that we're sitting in a circle together with our eyes closed. Lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward. we invite the Divine Presence to pour the flowering heart blessing through all of us to each other as it flows through you to all the others in the circle. It's flowing back to you through them and transforming us all. Imagine before you the translucent, living blue planet Earth. And let us take a strong intention and ask the Divine to awaken every living human heart on planet Earth and cause it to flower in oneness. See those 8 billion hearts melting together and the light flooding the entire earth. Bring before your heart the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf Coast of Florida. And let us beam blessing to Hurricane Milton, to cool its heat, to calm its fervor, that it may release and dissipate and dissolve. We take a strong intention that all of the people of Florida would be protected from harm. From damage and from loss, protected. We release legions of light beings, angels, to flood the earth, to mount a guard, and to protect all the people in the path of the sun. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now you can relax your hands in your lap somewhere, and when you're ready, open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me as we dive into the light meditation. In this meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of grace and love and light. The Divine Presence. And it pours through every part of our being to you, especially through our eyes, the windows of the soul. Just keep looking at least one of our eyes. That's all you need to do. And the light shines out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your spiritual heart of hearts, causing the fires of divine love, the light of awakening to grow brighter and brighter and brighter within you. There's nothing for you to do but keep looking and receive. close your eyes now. Meditate with us for a few more moments as the grace settles within. Now keep meditating as long as you like. Or find a place nearby to lie in Shavasana. That's to lie comfortably on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward. And just let yourself dissolve in the presence with gratitude. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings, and we'll connect with you next week if we have power and internet.
We trust we will.
Yes, we do.
Until then, know that the divine in us beholds the divine in you. And we bow to you. Namaste.
Namaste.